Hard to put such a price tag on how much the coronavirus is going to cost New York City, but there is one person whose job it is to do just that, and that's New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer joining us this morning to really help wrap our minds around some of these numbers. So, Comptroller, I know you're joining us by phone. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan.
Hey, so you're talking about a $4.8 billion to $6.8 billion loss of city revenue. How did you come up with that number since we're so early in on this, and what does that mean for New York City?
Well, we're doing preliminary numbers based on looking at the loss of revenue in the hospitality industry, the loss to our small businesses. So we have a range, in the more optimistic zone, we're at $4.8 billion, but this could be in excess of $6 billion. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the $6 billion number. What it means is that right now the city will have a $1.5 billion budget deficit at least. And that's why the stimulus package coming out of Washington is so critical for our budget and for the people of New York City, the people who are unemployed, the people who are struggling.
So Mayor de Blasio said, and he compared this to a Great Depression and the recession. I hate to throw those words out there, but you're the money guy. So do you see us heading that way? What does it mean on the ground? Stores and employees who are losing their jobs or shuttering their doors right now?
Well, here's what won't happen. We won't get there if we take decisive action. The mayor took a recommendation I've been making for weeks, which is try to look for agency efficiencies so we don't get to that terrible choice of balancing the needs of our city workers and our unemployed people, the people who are struggling in the city. We have to do everything we can so we never get to use words like depression. And that is why, one, we need a stimulus package that's going to have direct cash opportunity for struggling people. People in the city don't want loan guarantees. They need a new deal from Washington to get direct cash so that they can keep their families going.
So you're saying, let me be very clear. You're saying that the deal from Washington is what will help so many of these businesses. Otherwise, they will be forced to close for good, which will obviously hurt New York.
Two things. The stimulus package is everything, but it's not the only thing. City government has to do its part. We need decisive action on our own city budget. Got to make sure that we trim the fat so that the money we save can go to health care, to jobs, to opening up our small businesses when that day comes. That is the agenda right now. And that is why it is so important to understand the numbers. No one wants to look at numbers that are bad. Unfortunately, that's what I do for a living, in good times and bad.
And this is the reality. This is the reality.
And by the way, it could tip even further. But what I want to see happen right now is concede nothing. Let us come up with a package in Washington that meets the needs of New Yorkers, and then let's mobilize the city like we never mobilized before to make sure people living in public housing and people who depend on assistance to get through the day, let's make sure that they have every opportunity to access that assistance, even when we're operating in what is now a deficit economy.
I want to talk about the direct cash assistance, right? A lot of people are hearing this term. They'll get checks in the mail. Who would this money be coming from, and who decides who actually gets that money?
Well, that's going to be the details. Right now, I think a lot of that has to do with the stimulus package in Washington. I have been urging that we do have a robust national $250 billion at least price tag for cities and for states so that our government can mobilize on cash assistance and actually having the room to help people who may be struggling, middle-class people.
A dollar amount
working
here.
Poor. Oh, it's hard. I think we should have a $250 billion national stimulus for state and local governments. Our city government is going to run a deficit. That means less money to help the people we need to help. I don't want to get there. That's why we sounded the alarm. That is why the mayor acted yesterday and said, look, I'm going to do efficiencies. I'm going to look for agency savings.
And
we're all in this together.
Scott, we're running out of time here. I just want to ask one more question here, and that is coming from our viewers directly who were tweeting me this morning asking about rent. It's due in 6 days. What do they do if they have a rent due and they cannot make that payment?
Well, what we should do is they should contact my office immediately, and we will try to help them with their individual issues. But nobody should feel that they should move out of their apartments. Assistance is hopefully on the way, and we will help every constituent. There are mayoral agencies that we can put them in touch with.
All right. These are certainly tough times. We're all in. I appreciate you joining us this morning with the reality we're all facing, and appreciate your time, Scott.